Hey everyone, and welcome to this small recap video for COM 322. I'm posting this even though I posted a lengthier video earlier in the week, just because I'm hoping that it will refresh some of your brains after this kind of, really full, complicated couple of days when you've been looking at the site, and also because it really highlights the things that you absolutely need to know. So by this point, you've already completed the first unit. You've already introduced yourselves to us on the discussion board. And because you've completed the first unit, that means that you've already taken your first quiz, and you know that your second quiz as part of unit 2 is due by Friday. So hopefully by now you have kind of the familiarity with both the content and the layout of the course that you can accept kind of these final reminders. You have the intellectual space and the intellectual energy to process it. So just a few brief helpful reminders here. For every unit, and typically there are 2 units in a week, that's really important for you to note, you have to do a few things. You have to do the reading, obviously, and that reading is linked. And in the unit 2 that just opened today, you see a kind of just a slide or a graph for how to do academic reading. That should really kind of help you break it down for some of these articles coming up that are a little bit longer and maybe a little bit more complex than you're used to. You need to watch any YouTube or Vimeo clips. You need to check out the Prezi, which duplicates kind of my lecture as if we were in a face-to-face class. You should chat on the discussion board, and you need to take the quiz. In a few occasions, there is more than one quiz per unit, so make sure you are really taking a look at that chart that you can find under the weekly modules page and using that chart as a checklist. And if you haven't done so already, it would be a really, really good idea for you to go through each module and each chart in that module and put those due dates in your phone and set some calendar alerts so that you don't miss anything. All right. There are a lot of moving pieces. As I've said, I cover the same amount of material in this online class as I do in my face-to-face class, which means you should be spending about 3 hours a day on content, because that's what you'd be doing if you were sitting in my class. And so I know that people, even really great responsible students, lose track of some stuff. So please put those due dates in your phone or on your calendar right now, because I'm a pretty big stickler when it comes to makeup exams and makeup quizzes and makeup assignments. And I say stickler because basically I don't allow you to make it up. So important due dates, and I'm just going to hammer home that you find all over the site and in the syllabus. All right. Quizzes, you have at least 2 every week. Several weeks, it's more than 2. And those are pretty much across the board found on Blackboard, though there are a couple exceptions. One is that the quiz during Food Inc. is actually a Word document that you'll send to me. That's quiz 9, and quiz 10 is found on our discussion board, and it's a way for you to do some exam review with your peers, and there are instructions on that already up on the discussion guide. Your exams open on 6/29, that's exam 1, and your final exam is only 1 day long, and it is 7/20, which is the last day of the course. Remember, I do not allow makeup exams. That exam 1 runs for several days. The final exam, you got 1 day to take it. The study guide is already up actually for exam 1. So if you wanted to be filling out that study guide as you learn the content in these units, by all means, go for it. You also have a problem solver project, and you can find a full description and rubric of that under assignment descriptions, and that's due on July 13th. And the infographic, which you can also find described under assignment descriptions and an example, is due on the last day of the course, 7/20. That final exam and that infographic, you got to turn it in and take it by 11:50 that night. All right, important reminders. Remember that I would be seeing you in a face-to-face class for about 90 minutes, maybe even a little bit more. And then you would have time outside of that class to be preparing. So really I'm expecting that you need to allot per day about 3 hours. And if you don't have 3 hours to allot per day, and you're only doing it every other day, then you're spending about 6 hours. Okay. So when I was constructing the Prezi, putting up the videos, putting up the reading, that's what I was really thinking. Okay. Remember, your preparation in each module not only duplicates the class experience, but also gives you time outside the quote unquote class to prepare. And the content often surprises people. You might be surprised now, there's such a variety. So you really have a lot of scholarly reading, and you have a lot of just kind of popular press reading. So it'll really kind of stretch, I think, your belief of what counts as academic material, which I really, really like. And I try to apply the appeal, at least, to multimodalities for learning. So you'll also have a lot of visuals, and you have a lot of videos and things like that. Important reminders. It's really important in an online class for you to communicate with me. I've listed my cell phone number on the syllabus, and you're allowed to text me during the normal kind of working hours and just identify who you are so that I know who I'm communicating with. As always, I'm available via text message and email. I'm pretty responsive. And I have my office hours over Skype on Wednesday mornings. If you have a test malfunction, you need to let me know immediately. It says in the course policies that you will communicate with me within an hour of opening the exam. So make sure you're following those procedures. Remember, I don't do makeup exams, but if for some reason you have a test malfunction, I'll work with you on a case-by-case basis. Generally speaking, I allow you to use your notes. I mean, it's not really considered take-home exams, but they're kind of open note quizzes and exams where you can consult. Now, because they're timed, you don't have a ton of time to be reading the materials as you're taking the notes, but I do think you could look back at things and kind of spot check and answer. But the honor code still applies, which means you can't be using Wikipedia without citing it. You can't be using a peer, right? But you are more than welcome to use the class materials that I've provided. And again, I know I sound like a broken record, but very rarely will I take a late assignment unless something has been adjusted with me in advance or arranged with me in advance. I expect that you turn the things in on the due date, and that's why I want to make you aware of when those due dates are. All right, that's all I got. I hope you are having a great week, and I look forward to seeing your Quiz 2 answers.